Honestly, is there anything harder than waking up when it's still dark outside? You know that feeling. Your alarm goes off and you just want to throw your phone across the room. We have all been there. Today, we are going to look at the absolute chaos of a typical day. I'm talking about missing socks, coffee disasters, awkward neighbors trying to set you up on dates, and that panic when you realize you forgot to do something huge for work. It's messy, it's loud, and it's totally relatable. So grab your coffee, hopefully you don't spill it, and let's get into the real vibe of a crazy day. So let's start with the morning struggle. You know how it is. You usually plan to get up at 6 a.m. to be productive, right? But reality hits, and suddenly it's 7:45, and you are running around like a headless chicken. Take Betty, for example. She wakes up, realizes she's super late, and is ready to sprint out the door. But moms are built differently. Betty's rushing, saying, I gotta go, and her mom is there like, hold on, sweetie, eat some eggs, have some toast, drink this orange juice. It's so wholesome, but also so stressful when you're late. The mom is worried she's gonna choke on her breakfast because she's eating so fast. And then, just when Betty thinks she's in the clear, she runs into the neighbor, Mrs. Buckley. Now, we all have that one neighbor who loves to talk way too much. Mrs. Buckley is sweet, but she has an agenda. She wants to set Betty up with her grandson. She's like, he's visiting, you should meet, look at his picture. Betty hits her with the classic Gen Z excuse, I have plans, which is code for, I am definitely not going on a blind date with your grandson. Betty tries to run away, saying she's late for work, and Mrs. Buckley is still yelling, he loves to run too. You gotta love the effort, but that is a hard pass. Now, things get worse for Betty. She runs into her coworker, Eddie, on the way to work. Eddie is shocked to see her on the train because Betty usually drives. Here comes the drama. Betty's car got towed. Why? Because she let a friend borrow it and he parked it illegally. This is a huge life lesson, guys. Never lend your car to a friend who doesn't know how to park. Eddie asks how much the fine is, and it's $200. That is an expensive mistake. Betty is furious, saying she won't ever let anyone borrow her dear car again. Eddie tries to be positive, saying, hey, at least you get to experience the New York subway, but it's freezing cold, so Betty is not having it. Once they get to the office, the chaos continues. You know how stressful offices can be on a Monday. Eddie realizes he messed up big time. He was supposed to book a meeting room 24 hours in advance for a client meeting, and guess what? He forgot. He's panicking. He asks Betty, can you help me? But all the rooms are booked. This is actually a great example of real-life English conversation where you see how people react under pressure. Betty saves the day, though. She suggests using a storage room on the fourth floor that's empty. It's not glamorous, but they can put a table in there and make it work. Eddie is so relieved, he literally says, I swear on my car, which is funny because Betty is the one without a car right now. Speaking of office habits, let's talk about coffee. Betty notices Eddie is on his fifth cup of coffee. Fifth! She tells him he's gonna go crazy, but he says he needs it to survive. They start talking about the weekend, and the vibes are totally different. Eddie is going camping, which sounds exhausting, while Betty is planning to stay home, turn off her phone, and do absolutely nothing. No emails, no calls, just peace. She even admits her boyfriend drives her crazy, just like her job. That is the definition of a modern relationship struggle. Now, let's switch gears a bit. While Betty is dealing with office drama, let's look at a different household, a full family morning. This is where the real comedy happens. Imagine a house with two kids, Emma and Jake. Mom tries to wake them up at 7 a.m. and Jake pulls the classic, I think I'm sick move. He claims he has Monday struggle syndrome. I think we all have that syndrome, to be honest. Mom isn't buying it, though. She tells them to get up. Jake complains that his phone battery lasts longer than his energy levels. That is such a Gen Z mood. He wants to be nocturnal like an owl so he can play video games all night. Mom shuts that down immediately with the old saying, the early bird catches the worm. Jake, being a smart kid, says that sounds gross because who wants to eat worms? He's got a point. Owls are definitely cooler. Then comes breakfast, and it is a war zone. It's the cereal war. Jake is peeking all the marshmallows out of the cereal box. Emma is mad because that's the best part. Mom and Dad are just trying to survive. Dad makes a joke about the good old days before they had kids, which is funny but also kind of sad. Then tragedy strikes. They run out of milk. Eating dry cereal is basically like eating rocks, so the kids refuse. They beg to go to a cafe. Then the worst thing possible happens. Dad spills his coffee. Now, for a parent, the morning coffee is sacred. It's the only thing keeping them sane. Dad drops his cup and it's a disaster. He gets super dramatic, saying the perfect mix of bitterness and warmth is gone forever. He calls it a crisis. The family agrees to go to the drive-thru, probably Tim Hortons, to save Dad from having a breakdown. The chaos doesn't stop there. Then you have the missing sock mystery. Someone always loses one sock. Mom blames the dryer, calling it the sock goblin. Emma has to go to school with mismatched socks, which she thinks is a fashion disaster, but honestly, nobody is looking at her feet. In the car, the fight shifts to music. The kids want to listen to EDM, which the dad says sounds like robots crying. That is the most accurate description of electronic music I have ever heard. Dad wants to listen to old school music, and the kids say it sounds ancient. They end up compromising, which usually means the driver picks the music. Sorry, kids. Just when they get near the school, Emma realizes she forgot her math homework. The panic is real. She did it, but she left it on her desk. Dad tries to turn it into a life lesson about responsibility, but Mom is the MVP, the most valuable player. She says they'll bring it to her later. Moms always save the day. But then the weather changes. It starts pouring rain, and suddenly school is canceled. This is the best feeling in the world for a kid. The vibe instantly shifts from panic to party mode. They decide to go back home and make pancakes. The kids want bunny-shaped pancakes because Easter is coming. Dad just wants normal pancakes because he's boring, but he gets outvoted. Later that week, the family decides to do some spring cleaning. Now, nobody likes cleaning. The kids complain, asking why they have to suffer just because flowers are blooming outside. Mom bribes them with cookies. That is the only way to get work done, bribery. They divide the tasks, Emma on bookshelves, Jake on toys, and Dad gets the garage because he's the strongest. Flattery works on dads every time. Eventually, they go visit Grandma in the countryside. It's a nice break from the city traffic. Grandma is the best. She instantly feeds them cookies. She asks about their lives, and Mom admits she's busy judging bake sales and keeping the neighborhood in check. But here's the sweet part. It's the parents' anniversary. The kids, Emma and Jake, who usually fight like cats and dogs, team up to surprise them. They cook a whole meal: pasta, sauce, garlic bread. They realize they don't have dessert, but they decide to keep it simple. They even debate buying flowers. Jake is suspicious because Emma is being too nice, asking if an alien took over her body. Siblings, right? They can't just be nice without being suspicious. When the parents come home, they are totally surprised. The house isn't on fire and lunch is served. It's a perfect ending to a chaotic week. So, coming back to Betty, her day ends pretty wholesome too. She goes home and her dad is cooking. Now, in Betty's house, Mom is the baker, but Dad is the chef. He's making chicken and vegetables because her brother Daniel eats like 3 people. He's a growing boy. Betty tells her dad about Eddie at work, who loves his cooking. Dad is so happy he jokes about adopting Eddie. Betty warns him, first my friend Pam, now Eddie, we're gonna need a bigger table. And Daniel, the little brother, drops some gossip. He saw Mrs. Buckley again. She's still trying to set Betty up with the grandson. Daniel tells Betty to just give the guy a chance. He just wants a birthday present from Mrs. Buckley, so he's totally biased. But hey, that's family for you. From the office stress of booking rooms to the morning panic of finding socks and the sweet moments of family dinners, this is what daily routine English really looks like. It's not just saying good morning, it's navigating the mess, the jokes, and the relationships. Whether you're like Betty dealing with a towed car or like Jake trying to avoid school, life is pretty much just a series of funny disasters that we fix with coffee and pancakes. So, did you see yourself in any of these stories? Are you the zombie in the morning or the supermom? Let me know in the comments. If you want to get better at understanding these fast, real-life conversations, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to Learn English with Jennifer. We drop videos like this to help you master English without the boring textbooks. See you in the next one!